Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Shaq here, and welcome to Sins of a Solar Empire 2, the technical preview. If you don't know what Sins is, the original game came out ages ago, and we've been covering it for about a decade here on the XPG. We have played all the total conversion mods from Sins of the Prophets, which is one of the best RTS Halo experiences for space combat, highly recommend it, to Star Trek Armada 3, which is one of the best RTSs for Star Trek's franchise, and it's made by passionate fans. There are a ton of these. Thrawn's Revenge, Sins of Galactic Empire, on and on and on. Anyways, today we're looking at the technical preview that's come out. Now, a few heads up before you get real excited and you run off to go buy this. It is only available on the Epic Store. It is $40, and there is not much to sink your teeth into. Let's go ahead and... Actually, first, we'll look at the main menu here. This is the one map. So if I click through these... Small, medium, large. We go back to medium, the only map, pre-alpha. If I go to game setup, your only options are, well, one, you get to play TEC. So you're going to be playing as the human faction from the original game with new models, new ships. You've got just TEC to play with, only one variant of them. You can change the difficulty of the 4-player match or only have one player in it. You can do FFA or teams of 2. If you go to options, you have 3 options, only one of these, and I'm going to give you a little hint here. This is the only new mechanic that I actually feel like is a new mechanic, and that is the orbiting planets. I will talk about that once we load into the map. Now, instead of loading up this one, we're going to go into one I was playing last night, so we can get a bit of a game that's farther in. Let's go to exit, load game. Oh, geez, look at all the autosaves. Load. We were streaming this for quite a while. My fleet...
Ready to swat some flies.
Ready to swap some... My fleet is currently engaged in a battle for survival. Welcome to Sins 2. And it is actually over the enemy's position at the moment. If I hit spacebar, we can get all of the intel. I've got my mostly carrier fleet over here and long-range missiles, and you can see their missiles are actually being rendered now. They're physical like objects in the world space, so they can be countered. There's some neat behind-the-scenes stuff that's been added, but let's go ahead and we'll pause. We'll zoom out. So like I said earlier, the only thing here that's gonna wow you with a new mechanic, if you're a Sins player and you're interested in like, oh, what are they doing? What makes this the sequel to that classic game and not just a remaster? And I hate to say it, but the only thing so far in the technical preview, where we should be testing new mechanics, I would imagine, and the engine itself, are the orbital mechanic. If you notice, there's this new line. Some of them are red, some of them are like this kind of yellowish orange color, and they are various lengths. These represent the direction of travel around the star, and we've only got our map with one star, so we don't know how this works with multiples, but they represent the speed and direction of that orbital body. So planets, the moons, the asteroids will be moving in that direction. What does this mean? Well, what it means for this map, and as we played so far, is that the hyperlanes will actually change, reconnect, and kind of recombobulate themselves as they move through. For instance, this world was actually really, really close to us when this battle started. Oh, look at this! I just noticed this. I didn't actually realize this during the play last night. This moon isn't orbiting the sun. It's orbiting this planet. That's actually quite cool. So they're moving around, so the battle's gonna move around. What does that mean? Well, if you set up a lot of defenses on a world that's gonna be your front line, it might not be your front line an hour into the match. It might be at the enemy's doorstep. You might get cut off from falling back at the planet you're at to that one jump now could be 5 to 10 jumps. I don't know how much people are gonna like this, particularly for versus games, or even just general play, if it's something we end up just turning off after the first, 6 months of the game coming out, or if it's a feature that everybody just loves because it adds a little spice to the late game. Who knows? But that's the one big mechanic. Outside of that, you're gonna notice, and I'm sure many of you have if you're Sins fans, there are a lot of reused assets on this. Everything from icons for ships, for buttons like fleet supply, from sound effects, if we go back. Comlink Online. If I click these, one of the 2 capital ships that are available, there are only 2 capital ships currently available in the play. Yeah, listen to that. Let me click.
How can I be of service?
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of that. If we go to the research tab and we start looking through the research, you're gonna see literally the pulled from Sins 1 icons, like Arctic colonization. And it plays pretty much just like Sins so far. Now, this doesn't bother me because the technical preview, What worries me as a fan of Sins is that I have yet to see in the bullet points for selling this early access and selling the game, not even the early access, just the game on the Epic page. There isn't a bulletin point on there that doesn't scream, hey, this is Sins 2. Everything could literally been copied and pasted from Sins 1, except the engine upgrades. So what makes this not a remaster versus a sequel? What makes this a new creative outlet that's gonna make this a proper sequel to that game that did something so cool and so unique oh so many years ago? All right, now that that's out of the way, and I look forward to reading your guys' comments and what you think about it, let's talk about some of the things that this does as. I'm gonna go ahead and unpause it. We'll just let the time go by. Some of the things that they've added I think are gonna be really exciting for people who've been modding the game for the last 10 years. That would be running on 64-bit, having multiple core processor support, and some of the stuff like what it seems, if I zoom back into this battle, having physicalized, projectiles as weapon systems. And if we find my capital ship, man, this UI is awful. It doesn't have the slots on the left anymore, so it's really hard to find like where your ships are. And they changed the research UI. We'll talk about that later. But if you look at this, let me turn that down a little bit. If we look, wrong ship. Let's look at the other capital ship. Where is my battleship? Where did I put you? You're not here. Battleship would be a much better example of this. Now, you're probably on your way, I would imagine. Got our siege ships over there. There it is. Battleship. The other capital ship. Here he comes. He's pretty far away. Oh, and he's freshly built too, so we'll be able to use the upgrade system. If we look at this, weapon systems: 2 Gauss cannons, 4 medium autocannons, and 3 light autocannons. Now, I believe these will actually track individual targets instead of being stuck on like port, starboard, forward, and back. Like there's some mechanics on the back end that this is gonna have. And I know I had some of the Star Trek Armada devs pop into my stream when we were playing, talking about, hey, there's a lot of cool behind the scenes stuff that's been added to this. And it sounds like maybe it's a wish list for modders. But gotta look at this from the perspective of it being its own game. And so far, when I right-click enemies, my ships just sit there and fire like this is Sins 1. If you notice the fleet back here, lobbing missiles and torpedoes. All except for like one of the corvettes, I think, actually move around and try to, like this right here. Like move around and actually try to evade, engage. Nope, he's just gonna stop and fire at us. Yep. We are like 1 jump away from the enemy's base and their capital, so they're trying to save themselves. I think their capital is like right here. Weirdly, not Blue's. I think Blue's fleet just got cut off from the route that I was going to take to get to them, because there's their capital. Anyways, anywho, our capital ship, which is now going to be Group 2, so we can find it, is on the way. It does play very much like Sins 1. I can do upgrades. No, they do not show up on the model. We'll pick up the giant laser array, which is just an energy weapon. It doesn't lock. They take whatever they've done with this version. When you're focused on a unit, when it makes the jump, it doesn't stick with it. It just jumps and then you have to find it again. And it's a weird thing, but it really bugs me because I know Sins 1, it will actually stay with the ship as it jumps. There is one other gameplay feature, where if I do the research, I can pick up something like the radiation bomb as a piece of technology and attach it to the capital ship. So I guess there's a little bit more customization with those capital ships. If I have done the research, and I have done the research for radiation bomb prototype. So now I need to go to a refit station, which is the old repair bays from the base game. Those are still in. You just fly up next to them, click this button, and you can add, these new abilities and or buffs to your ship, which I think is quite cool. I kind of wish there was a little bit more like visual representation of that on the ship, but yep. Sins of a Solar Empire technical preview is a thing that we can play right now. I will totally speed this up so we can see the beam in action, because honestly, it's cool and I want to see it. Bow, bow, bow. Waiting for the ship to arrive. There it is. All right, let's take the fleet. Let's jump into the next star sector. If I hit F and click, they will all move together. There is no create fleet option yet. Or maybe they're just getting rid of that mechanic. Here's our battle cruiser, by the way. This is that capital ship that can allow you to make colonies. I will say the soundtrack is freaking great. It's been so long since I've heard the original Sin soundtrack, though, that with everything else been reused, I'm kind of wondering if this is reused soundtracks from Sins 1. which is real awkward when you just spent $40 on a title, even if it is early access. I do have to say, it does run great, and it ran at ultra-wide resolution when I first launched it. Right now, we're running in 1080p, and it's totally fine. And loads damn near instantly. Yep, enemy ships arrived. See the shields kicking off. Shield effect's nice. And the lighting from the explosions look good, too. Look at that. Yep. All right, fleet. Make the jump. My recommendation, though, unless you're a mod author or you're a really, really hardcore... Oh, no, I lost the fleet. Come on, zoom in on the fleet. There we go. If you're a really hardcore fan of Sins of a Solar Empire and you want to be a alpha tester and you want to alpha test a company's game for them, then that would be the only time that I would think that you'd buy this. If not, just wait, keep an eye out on all of the YouTube channels that are going to be covering it, and watch what updates come out and at what point it feels like a proper game. Also, no multiplayer, by the way. That's not going to be out for a bit. Immediately engaging their minds. They look just like my minds. My mind's telling me no. Your world is doomed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Let's laser beam something.
Ready for battle.
And I will see you all.
Easily
Laser
done.
beam it, if it works. I've had a few times where it just didn't fire. That's the main cannon. One of the two. Not the laser beam. Wait for it. Hold. No? He hasn't fired it yet. There he goes. Hey! All right, it's more impressive when it's used against like a frigate because it just one-shots them. I'll see you all in the next video. Later, everybody.